Hello everyone, welcome to Tactica Imperialis and to today's video. Slightly different setup to usual, mainly because I wanted somewhere a little bit comfier to sit this evening. What I wanted to do today is a my thoughts on video. And what I want to talk about in that video is the Blood and Glory previews that we got over the weekend. It's been a while since I've done my thoughts on with one thing and another, with work and with Tutorialis. I just haven't had chance. So here we are. We're going to talk about Blood and Glory, and my TLDR for this show is I didn't really know what I wanted, but what we got was very, very good, even if I'm not going to buy any of it. There you go, TLDR. You can, if you really don't really care about anything that's in the show, you can now click off. That's what I think about it. Now let's dive into the article, go through everything that's actually there, and see what we can see. So we start off with Warcry, and the Mind Stealer Sphinx and the Ogroid Myrmidon. This should be the other way around, really, because that's not the order they show them off. So first off, we have this thing, the Ogroid Myrmidon, and this model is gorgeous. I'd seen somewhere that someone had posted this on Twitter beforehand, and I should also point out, I didn't look at the leaked timetable that I knew existed for the upcoming hobby releases, because I didn't want to know, and I refused to talk about it with anybody. So this was all surprising to me. In many, many ways. So, Ogroid Myrmidon. Love this model. This model is absolutely gorgeous. It takes some of the design cues of the Ogroid Thaumaturge and crosses it with a bit more of the Minotaur Greek mythology with a massive spear and shield, and also really doubles in all the chaos stuff with a little bit of mutation, the massive spines, the spikes, and the Chaos Star on the belt, obviously. This model is really, really good, and I really, really like it, and it's coming into Warcry. I assume it's going to come in via the same route as Monsters and Mercenaries. We also got the Mind Stealer Sphinx, which has broadly broken the internet. A hypnotic disabling cat-dog hybrid thingamabobby, which is absolutely, again, very, very pretty. I bet that if you painted this the right way, you can make a really awesome statue out of this miniature, just with the pose that it's in, like a really cool statue on like a corrupted storm vault. So you know, on the storm vault temple, you can have those like sphinxes. Imagine swapping those sphinxes for two of these, and then defiling it all in with Temple of Skull components. That would be a really cool thing to do if you wanted to not use them in gameplay. And if you do want to use them in gameplay, obviously it's in Warcry alongside the Fomeroid Crusher, which is a miniature that came out or was revealed a while ago. Again, nice miniature. Probably wouldn't buy it myself, but it's a nice miniature. And they are going into Slaves to Darkness, which is actually my one critique. Particularly for the Ogroid, because if I go back to the Ogroid for a second, just look at this and tell me that belongs in Warriors of Chaos when Beasts of Chaos already exists and has the Bray Herd and the... what's the name of the Minotaur faction? Bull Herd, I think. This guy would be a fantastic general in a Beasts of Chaos army. If you want to have your Doom Bull being your, or your, whatever they call the Super Minotaurs these days, being your Beatstick general, this can be your more tactical general who's got a bit more of a brain. And maybe you can bring the Ogroid Thaumaturge in and attach them to the Bray Herd as an alternative to the Great Bray Shaman, or give them to Doom Herd and Bull Herd and say, hey, you have a wizard now, it's the Ogroid Thaumaturge. It's a bit rubbish, but it fits on your Minotaur theme. Have fun. I think this belongs more in Beasts of Chaos, and I say the same thing for the Sphinx. That, alongside, say, Centigore, or leading packs of Warhounds, or even maybe even alongside Dragon Ogres, depending on how big it is, would fit right in. I think it would really fit in Beasts of Chaos. And the Fomeroid Crusher, I take or leave. It's got like design cues to me coming from the Gorgon, with sort of like the idea of one eye, rocks in its hands, because this thing throws terrain at people. I just think that it would be better suited to Beasts of Chaos. I'm not against them going into Slaves to Darkness, because that's where all the other Warcry stuff have gone. All the warbands are in Slaves to Darkness. But these, I think, belong better in Beasts of Chaos. That's just my opinion, because I think that particularly the Ogroid would fit really well alongside the Minotaurs. But I digress, because Slaves to Darkness weren't done. They were kind of the headline act for this. I know most people will probably say it's Sisters of Battle, but for me, Slaves to Darkness were the headline act. And they got some fun. So, first off, Chaos Warrior kit. This is something I really wasn't expecting. I joke with you not, on Saturday morning, I went into my local GW to buy the Ossiarch and Ogre battle tomes, and me and the manager were chatting about Slaves to Darkness, because we'd seen the preview in the teaser saying, ooh, Chaos Undivided, it was probably going to be Slaves to Darkness. And we were both remarking on the Chaos Warrior kit and how well it actually stands up today. And it does. It's a really good kit. I've seen it now, even against modern miniatures, on round bases. It stacks up really well. And then 12 hours later, not even 12 hours later, they bin it and replace it with this. Now, I'm not against that, because they make it very clear that they've kept the old aesthetic, because they didn't have to mess with the aesthetic. Warriors of Chaos look great. All they've done is jazzed them up a bit. Some more fancy poses, more weapon options, I'm guessing. But they've also stripped a few things out, judging by this imagery. So you can see here with the hand weapons, you've got a bigger variety. Not everyone's got a sword. Some people have got maces, some people have got axes, some people have got clubs. It's a real variety of weapons. And that's good, because it makes sense that this ragtag warband of the most numerous servants of chaos wouldn't all wield the same weapon. This is not a disciplined military force, which also explains the running poses. They are merciless reavers and servants of chaos. They're not ordered armies in the same way as warriors of chaos used to be. So them being a bit more marauding, a bit more barbarian, a bit more violent and active really works. The shields look great. The overall model designs with the cloaks and the helms really looks great. But one thing is conspicuous by its absence. If you know your old fantasy, you'll notice something. No banners. No musicians. So, whilst this fits with their aesthetic of being marauders and raiders and reavers and conquerors, as opposed to civilized armies who then go and besiege and destroy for the glory of chaos, these aren't serried ranks of armies anymore. So why would they have standards that they march under? Why would they answer to the call of a war horn? Like a champion, sure, but why would they need that full command? But that means that they lose the bonuses in-game that full command would give you, whether that's bravery, whether that's rerolls, whether that's... It's usually bravery and rerolls and speed. But they've got rid of the full command options. At least, judging by this one image and the other image of Chaos Warriors that we get, which is just this kit again, they haven't shown us full command. And if they go down that direction with Chaos Warriors and take away their regimented nature, I'm cool with it. I just think it's an interesting observation. And they do the same thing to the Chaos Knights. And oh, the Chaos Knights. Again, the Chaos Knight kit didn't need an update, but it really benefits from getting one because Varangard exist and they look amazing. And compared to the modern cavalry of the Ossiarch, the Stormcast, who else has got new cavalry? Actually, not a lot of people have got new cavalry now that I think about it. But when you compare it to the new cavalry of the age, the Chaos Knight kit really showed its age a bit. Same as my Drakespawn Knights kit that I've got. It shows its age just because it's quite static. This kit is far more dynamic, far more active, and they look like they are truly badasses that are going to run you over, which is brilliant. But again, notice, I'll even zoom in this time because I remember to zoom in, no command. They don't have a standard bearer and they don't have a musician. They just have a champion, which again is fine if they want to go down that route and have them all be individual champions in their own right, rather than being the retainers for a Chaos Lord or whatever. That's fine. I just find it an interesting change. But yeah, Chaos Knight kit looks brilliant. If I were interested in playing a Chaos army, I would buy these. And the only way I'd buy a Chaos army is actually by doing Slaves to Darkness and recreating one of my favourite books in the Age of Sigmar, Scourge of Fate by Robbie McNiven. In fact, I've got it just over here. I wasn't actually planning to get this, but it's on my desk. So, Scourge of Fate. Actually, I'll just bring this up. Yeah. So, Scourge of Fate, Robbie McNiven. This is a Varangard story. It follows a Varangard, and his retinue are a bunch of Chaos Knights. And I'd love to recreate this by having my Chaos Lord, or my General, use a Varangard miniature, and then have a Chaos Knight's retinue supported by Marauders and by a mix of warriors underneath, because that's what this book does, and it really represents something for me about how Chaos works. And you might be able to do that in Slaves to Darkness, but I just wanted to point that out. The Chaos Knights kit, really nice change, though Varangard is still superior, obviously. But if you want a Chaos Lord, well, there is one. Look at this! Look at this! Look at this thing! Okay! This is unique. Definitely unique. That is a brand new creature. It is a knockoff of a Dracoth and everything Seraphony, but also chaosified a little bit because it's so brutal in its sort of stocky, short, and spiky. It really suits Chaos. But it's a brand new creature that we've never seen before. So, Demonic Mount, so you might remember the old Metal Demonic Mount Lord, that's gone. This is what you've got now. And it's obviously designed to mirror the Lord Celestant on Dracoth. In fact, the pose very much mirrors the Lord Celestant on Dracoth. So if you've got Vanda's Hammerhand, the Dracoth is rearing up, he's got his hammer up in the air, and he's reining his steed back, and he looks like a badass. This guy is got his steed stalking, he's got his big axe up, and he's pointing a sword out, sort of in the opposite direction. So if these two charge each other, sort of side-on-ish, would it work? It might work. Depending on how you pose it, they might actually be a good reflection to each other if they charge each other sort of side-on-ish. And that really works, and it makes sense for Chaos to get a Lord like that, given they've just introduced, for example, the Liege Cavalos, for the Ossiarch is another example I keep coming back to, though they didn't do it for Auric War Clans, which I'm sad about, but whatever, beside the point. So, that's great. The Chaos Lord also looks really cool. There is another version of this model with a helm, and I much prefer the helmed version, personally. In fact, we'll get to it a little bit later. But it's a really cool miniature. The axe could look a bit more chaosy. I mean, I know it's got a giant 8-pointed star on it, but I don't know. Could look a bit more warped and twisted and maybe even demonic. But then again, Chaos Lord's demonic weapons leads to alignment, and that's the Varangard shtick. So I understand maybe not wanting to too closely associate them with the Varangard, so that's fine. Either way, looks awesome. And everything you've just seen, the Knights, the Warriors, and this Lord are going to form Start Collecting Slaves to Darkness. It's in the video trailer. You can go and watch it. This is the new Start Collecting for Slaves to Darkness. It's a really solid Start Collecting. I wholly approve. And obviously, to reflect this, all these new miniatures and this new miniature with no rules, we get a new battle tome. I'm pointing you in the wrong direction. We get a new battle tome. We'll get that the second time. Archaon on the front, looking like a badass, and that means that Everchosen and Slaves to Darkness are back together, and that's a good thing. That's a really, 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 really good thing, because that's the one thing that bugged me about Everchosen, is they should have been with Slaves to Darkness. Varangard at the top, and maybe Archaon right at the top, and the Gaunt Summoners, and the Varangard, and then everybody else. Because Varangard are basically Chaos Lords on toast. Yes, they're brilliant. Let them lead Slaves armies, like in Scourge of Fate. Let me do this. And now you can. Yay. Good. But what's interesting is one faction within Slaves to Darkness is the Marauders and their Dark Oath sort of replacements. Because Marauders haven't been shown here. And Marauders is a really old and really showing its age kit. The Dark Oath have now received Godsworn Hunt plus the, the Dark Oath War Queen. There's a Chieftain, I think it's Silver Tower. There are a few Dark Oath miniatures knocking about, and we know about the Warcry warbands as well. So they had a real opportunity with Slaves to Darkness to pull the mortal sort of Marauders out and let them be a whole new faction under the Dark Oath War Tribes, or whatever you'd call them, because War Clans and War Tribes are both gone. Like, maybe Dark Oath, I don't know, I'm not good at titles. But make a Dark Oath Marauder faction separate from Slaves to Darkness and Everchosen, and then let the two cross-pollinate almost and borrow from each other quite heavily if you wanted to. We don't know if that's what they're going to do, but they talk about barbarian hordes, a vast scope, hordes of tribesmen. So I'm thinking Marauders will stay. This is the other pose for the Chaos Lord, by the way, with the helmet, and it looks so much better with the helmet. So you can see Varangard are now back in. That's great. But Marauders are not in any of the photos, which makes me think we're going to get a new Marauders kit that comes out alongside Slaves to Darkness, and that will then form the core of the army. You'll have Dark Oath and Marauders, Warriors of Chaos, and the Everchosen, all of which feed in to make Slaves to Darkness under Archaon. That's how I think it's going to go, but we will see in due course. As for when we're getting this book, we don't know. My prediction would be we get Warhammer 40,000 now. We'll get on to what's going on for Warhammer 40,000 over November. So the Ossiarch are out this week. Then Necromunda Dark Uprising is out. Then I think we'll get Psychic Awakening 2 and Sisters of Battle. And that'll take us through November. December is then Christmas month. And in Christmas month, all bets are off. Nothing really comes out that's brand new and shiny because they're putting out those army boxes, those battle forces, most of which are pretty good this year. And so I don't think we'll get them in December. We know that the Warcry beasts are coming in in 2020. So I'm guessing they will come out either just before or just after Slaves to Darkness, which will be the January release. That is my prediction, is that we're going to get Psychic Awakening 2 for 40k, and that will sort of dominate November with the Sisters of Battle. December will be quiet, and then January we get Slaves, and we get the Warcry update, and then February, who knows? Again, I've not seen the leaked timetable, and I'm not looking at it, I'm not talking about it, so don't even bother commenting. If you've already commented about it, get rid of it. We're not talking about it because I don't care. I'm not looking at it, I want to be surprised. So, that's my prediction. Slaves to Darkness look great, won't buy them. We'll never probably buy them unless I want to recreate Scourge of Fate and have nothing else to do in Order, or Death, or Destruction, because I have so many options I want to do right now. Anyway, moving on, because we've already been going for 17 minutes, blooming heck. Psychic Awakening 2, Faith and Fury. We knew this was coming. We'd seen the first tease for this last week before, and now we get the front cover with a Wordbearer Chaos Sorcerer, which is also getting a miniature. We'll get to that in a bit. And it is a campaign book, obviously, with Codex tier supplements, or Codex supplement tier content for Night Lords, Alpha Legion, World Eaters, Emperor's Children, Iron Warriors, and Wordbearers, because Death Guard, Thousand Sons, and Black Legion have their respective codices, where that one is Vigilus Defiant, or Vigilus Ablaze, in essence. So, all the Traitor Legions now have their own supplements, and we're also getting one for Black Templars, for some reason. Well, I understand completely why. Because Black Templars are insanely popular and insanely unique, so they needed a place to stand all on their own. No complaints there. The only thing we don't know at this point, we know we're getting new rules for all of them. Are we going to get any new miniatures? Because Grimaldus is a very old miniature. Helbrecht is a very old miniature. And the Emperor's Champion, whilst it still stands up, could maybe do with a boost. So I'm suspecting the Black Templars will get a Primaris character. I'd like it to be Grimaldus because that man just can't die. Why not make him die in the Rubicon and then just defeat the Rubicon and be a Primaris anyway? So I am fully down with Primaris Grimaldus. That's what I'd like to see for the Black Templars. And the Iron Warriors, the Emperor's Children, Lucius could do with an update. Let's redo Lucius and Bile for the Emperor's Children. The World Eaters, you've got Khan. The Wordbearers could do with a Dark Apostle leader, and so on. We could get new characters like the Loyalist Legion's got, for the sake of fairness, because it would only be right. So, we'll see. That's what I'm hoping for. They don't really talk about any of the plot in this article in terms of what's going on, aside from here's Chaos, here's the Imperials, which is Sisters and Black Templars, here's a pile of Traitor Legions, they're going to have a big schmoz. That's all we really know at this point. But the Sisters aren't actually done. Oh no. we were racking our brains the other night, me and a few friends, about is there anything left for Sisters that we haven't seen? And we arrived at the conclusion that we were missing, come on, the Exorcist. Say hello to the Exorcist. The new Exorcist is amazing. I love this model. I will not buy it because I don't want to play Sisters, but this miniature is absolutely amazing. It takes the classic aesthetic, it jazzes it up, gives it all the bells and whistles, pretty much literally. Off you go, kaboom, massive organ tank, thank you very much. Love the new Exorcist, well done. And then we got this. This sparked a debate amongst my cohorts about what it actually is, because immediate assumption is this is the new Immolator, because it's a tank, it's got 2 flamethrowers on the front, it's a battle tank, it's an Immolator. But then why would you give your APCs a stained glass window and all the shiny bells and whistles that mean you can't actually use it as a very effective transport vehicle? Now I know this is the Ecclesiarchy and the Adeptus Sororitas. They don't really need to play by the rules of aesthetic versus logic. But why would you give your APCs stained glass windows? So maybe this isn't the Exorcist. This is, the Immolator. Maybe this is a new battle tank and the Immolator will be an upgrade kit that goes alongside the Rhino that works a bit more, like a Rhino with flamethrowers. I am not sure. I am willing to say this is a new Immolator, but I could easily see them sneaking a new tank in next to the Immolator, which is a bit more of a shooty variant, whilst the Immolator keeps its transport role. I'm not against that either. What else did we have? Oh yes, the miniature for a Chaos Sorcerer. This is basically the miniature of the guy on the front cover for Psychic Awakening 2, so let's go back and have a look at that. So there's your Wordbearer Sorcerer from Psychic Awakening 2. And here is your Sorcerer from Miniature. And they're exactly the same, except one is a Wordbearer and one is painted in Black Legion colours for the sake of being put in the studio army. Boo. But it's a lovely, lovely miniature. You could argue it's maybe a little bit over-detailed, maybe. I would personally probably change the head and change the rune arm to be a bit more offensive. Either a second blade or a more of a casting hand, or maybe a fireball as opposed to an Eye of Horus type rune, which will be probably memed into being like an Eye of Sauron or memes and whatever. But I love the classic backpack. It's a real throwback backpack. The staff looks brilliant. I love the little bone crest, the skull and horns, because that's a really librarian symbol. So you might argue he ripped that off of a librarian and put it on his own staff to boost his own power, which I think would be a really nice touch. So yeah, love this miniature. And then, oh, this. I could spend 10 minutes dissecting this trailer. I could. All I will say, Mephiston. Yes, it's Mephiston. Mephiston is back, or Mephiston, or however you like to call it. I say Mephiston, come at me. This is awesome. Mephiston is one of the oldest miniatures going. It still holds up in some ways, but it is an ancient and out-of-date miniature in dire need of an update. And here he is. And some very keen eyes, including Remlays and others, have pointed out that from the various snapshots, it looks like they're going to pose him to look like his 2nd edition chapter-approved artwork, where he's sort of out like that, Vitaris down by his side, and Cloak sort of billowing in that direction. Which, if so, is a really cool pose and looks generally badass, so I approve. But we also get confirmation that Mephiston is joining the Psychic Awakening, which means that Psychic Awakening 3 probably includes the Blood Angels, which is cool and makes sense given we're getting a Christmas box set which has got Blood Angels in it, which is fine. So I'm thinking Mephiston is the front runner. But are we going to get a new Dante? We might get Primaris or new Dante to go alongside New Mephiston as the Blood Angels, as the Wardens of Imperium Nihilus, take on X, whoever X happens to be. Might be Tyranids again, could be someone else. And that's Psychic Awakening 3. Because the Psychic Awakening would absolutely affect Mephiston, would absolutely affect the highly psychically sensitive Blood Angels who, you know, Psychic Dream, Gene Seed, Floor, Black Rage, thingamabobby. Yeah, that. This could be awesome and is a really good direction to take the Blood Angels and to take the Psychic Awakening in general. Sorry, I've got a bit of a cold coming on, it seems. So, yeah. Mephiston, new miniature, Blood Angels in Psychic Awakening 3, which they're teasing before Psychic Awakening 2 has even gone in the books. So, yeah. That's exciting. Who they're going to face? Don't know. What they're going to get alongside Mephiston? Don't know. Maybe we will get a 2.0 Codex for the Blood Angels, alongside maybe a supplement for the Flesh Tearers. That would be cool. To see a chapter that has no Primaris whatsoever in the form of the Flesh Tearers and how they're coping without the Primaris upgrades. So, yeah, I am definitely very, very hyped for that. Bring it on. So Psychic Awakening 2 will probably be out in November alongside the Sisters of Battle. Then I think we'll go Quiet in December, Slays the Darkness, and then I think Psychic Awakening 3 will probably drop in February. They could put Psychic Awakening 2 in January, since Blood of the Phoenix happened in like September, October, and Psychic Awakening 2 is probably going to be November, December. So they might decide to make Psychic Awakening 3 January, February, but I think they've got room to sneak Slaves to Darkness in first, just to stop the Warhammer 40,000 overload. The final thing for the article is Warhammer Heroes. I actually know some people who won Warhammer Heroes. I think 2+ Tough might have been one of them who got one. So feel free to make some nominations if you want to. It is always good to see the right people in the community rewarded for their efforts. And that is my thoughts on Blood and Glory 2019. A lot has happened at that show because it hints a lot about where we're going. This is probably the last show of 2019, so this is the best way of seeing where we're going for 2020, which is obviously really cool. So we know about Psychic Awakening 2 in more detail. We've got a good hint about what's coming next for Psychic Awakening 3. We know about Slaves to Darkness being the next army for Age of Sigmar. Beyond that, we're not sure, unless you've seen the leaks and then just know all this stuff, in which case I don't want to know. So there's a lot to consider, a lot going on going forward, and I look forward to it all. But what did you think of Blood and Glory? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Are you hyped by the reveals? Are you nonplussed? Are you going to buy anything? Are you like me, who likes the stuff but won't buy it? Or whatever. Let me know what you think. I'm always interested to see what you have to say. Thank you for sticking around for an entire half an hour. I don't know why you did it, but you did. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Tactica Imperialis, and I will see you all again. Bye for now.